Hi, this is Professor William Wagner, and it's Faith and Freedom Friday. Today, I've got a couple of national cases. There were some Christian students and their chaperones. They were coming from Greenville, South Carolina. They were going to Washington, D.C. for the National March for Life. Now, surprise, surprise, they were wearing some hats that had a pro-life message that said pro-life. According to the ACLJ, the National Air and Space Museum booted this group out of the museum because they were displaying this pro-life message on their hat. Reportedly, the government staff did more than just boot them out. They mocked the students and, threw nasty expletives, at them as well. And so this is the type of thing that the First Amendment clearly serves as a protection for freedom of conscience and freedom of expression. The government is limited by that constitutional amendment that says Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or the free exercise thereof, or the freedom of speech. And that's what these students and their chaperones were doing. So, this is not going to look good for the government. I think this case will probably, be taken care of rather quickly, in the federal courts. The next case, as we shared when it happened a while back, the current administration issued a presidential executive order. And that executive order required the government to, take the word sex in anywhere it was in federal law and say it means all these other things like sexual orientation and gender identity. And we cautioned on the wisdom of that executive order, saying that it would result in all sorts of unintended consequences. Well, it turns out this executive order impacts the Affordable Care Act, likely forcing physicians to perform horrendous, perilous gender transition surgeries on children by force of law and punishment, forcing this kind of things on medical professionals against their conscience, against their best medical judgment, oftentimes, and against their sincerely held religious beliefs, in my view, again, violates the First Amendment to the Constitution, among some other protections as well. Here, the failure to bow the knee to the regime's sexuality orthodoxy could lead to huge fines and a loss of a medical license for these doctors. And for hospitals, I suppose it could result in loss of federal funding as well. I want to move to some of our brothers and sisters across the ocean, because again, freedom of thought, conscience, and religion is under attack everywhere in the world. In the United Kingdom, according to the Christian Legal Center, a group that we worked closely with a number of years ago and actually helped with on a number of issues and matters. According to the Christian Legal Center, the United Kingdom court is hearing a case of this kid named Izzy, a Christian whose 4-year-old son was forced to participate in LGBTQ pride parade and activities. Again, when the parent just said, I don't want my child, participating in this because of our sincerely held, religious beliefs about marriage and about sexuality, the government forced the parents to step aside and forced the child to be part of this indoctrination and celebration. This, again, is the kind of thing that violates international norms with regard to, fundamental rights of parents to control and direct the upbringing of the child. Who does the child belong to? Does the child belong to the state, or does the child belong to the parent? This is the battle that's going on in the courts and in the academic institutions around the world. And so if you care about the future of your children and your children's children, and whether or not they will belong to the state, or whether or not you will still be able to be the person who is considered to be the person who knows what is in the best interest of the child, it's time to stand and be heard. Now, this is the type of thing that needs to be responded to very quickly when it happens in your community. Another international case, according to ADF, Tom had a mother, and like we all do, and his mother, unfortunately, was killed by the state, euthanized in 2012. And actually, this was, when I say euthanized or killed by the state, it was sanctioned by the state, where a doctor just decided that he was in a better position to decide whether or not the person's life had worth. And the doctor decided, well, I think you're incurably, depressed, and so I'm going to kill you. And the doctor, did. Now, the European Court of Human Rights, in a rare victory, ruled that that killing violated this woman's right to life, because it didn't examine all the things that it was supposed to do with regard to the euthanasia laws in Belgium. The doctor used lethal injection, saying, hey, this person's got incurable depression, in my view, and therefore, again, you've got a human being making the decision on whether another human being is worthy of living. That is a very scary thought. That is why Christians look to the standard outside of themselves, that says, in the beginning, God, and God created man and woman, and because God created every single human being, his life has worth and dignity, that must be and ought to be respected by the government and by the medical profession. Here, the doctor didn't even bother notifying Tom, about his mother's killing until after they euthanized her. And so, even though this victory didn't strike down Belgium's euthanasia law, and there's still going to be more people killed under it, it finally is starting to disclose what we have said for years was going to happen, and all those things that we said were going to happen, 10 years ago and 5 years ago, are now happening. And fortunately, people are able to bring them to light, and shining the light of transparency on these government regimes that are enabling this kind of thing to happen in the medical profession. And here, the European Court of Human Rights, while it didn't strike down the law, it did, shine the light that the government's regime here lacked independence. Well, of course it lacked independence, because you had very pro killing, people making the decision, and not, having any kind of independence at all. And so, again, many things to pray for. These are some of the things that are happening this week, though. And so, as you hit your knees this weekend, pray for good governance, pray for the rule of law, and pray for government officials to act within the rule of law, and to act in a way that gives respect and dignity to all human beings, and to life. And so, until next time, this is Professor William Wagner, for faith and for freedom. God bless you.